This is a Pinstripe report brought to you by Bet365 that I never even imagined that I would have to give. I couldn't even imagine the time that it would happen. But the Yankees have just released a statement that John Sterling is going to retire effective immediately. He's called 5,420 regular season Yankee games, 211 postseason Yankee games, and he is retiring effective immediately. He will be recognized in a pregame ceremony on Saturday, April 20th, and he'll visit the WFAN booth during the game. Additionally, he will be made available to the media on Saturday as well. So here's a statement from the Yankees. Fans find a certain comfort in the daily rhythms of baseball. Day in and day out, season after season, and city after city, John Sterling used his seat in the broadcast booth to bring Yankee fans the heartbeat of the game, enjoying a profound voice and colorful personality that were distinctly, unmistakably his own. John informed and entertained, and he exemplified what it means to be a New Yorker with unapologetic and boisterous style that exuded his passion for baseball, broadcasting, and the New York Yankees. There's no shortage of adjectives to describe John and what he means to this organization and our millions of fans around the world. But what makes John a Goliath of the sports broadcasting world was how sacred he held his role as voice of the Yankees, showing up to perform virtually every single day since 1989. He was a pillar for Yankee fans who relied on the comfort and familiarity of his voice to be the soundtrack of their spring, summer, and fall. Given the tremendous care he had for the team and his performance on the air, it's not a stretch to believe that our fans live and die with every pitch because John Sterling did the same. We congratulate John on a remarkable and illustrious career. His contributions to this great game and to the Yankees franchise will echo long into the future. And this is a statement from John. I'm a very blessed human being. I've been able to do what I wanted, broadcasting for 64 years. As a little boy growing up in New York as a Yankees fan, I was able to broadcast the Yankees for 36 years. It's all to my benefit, and I leave very, very happy. I look forward to seeing everyone again on Saturday.
Wow.
So, effective immediately, I guess he'll join the booth on Saturday just for a quick word, but he's not calling a game, and that will do it.
Can I offer one thing, Michael?
Yes.
I feel like what we're hearing, as sad as it is to see this era come to an end, the way it sounds like it's being done and the way it sounds like the decision is being made sort of makes me feel better than the initial concern I had about the fact that he's been missing games and now you find out he's retiring. To me, at least, it sounds like something like he's just ready to do it and the physical wear and tear is too much.
Well, you're accurate. I spoke to him on Saturday, and it was an emotional phone call. He wanted to tell me, we worked together for 10 years. We got a chance to call, 5 World Series together, and it was the start of my broadcasting career. And he just said, Michael, I've called my last game. I said, John, wait a minute, what are you doing? And he said, I'm just done. I'm tired, and I'm done, and I feel I still sound good, and he does. His voice does not sound like an 85-year-old man. He sounds like he did when I started working with him. He was 50, and I said, John, why don't you wait until you feel better and then make a decision at that point? And he said, no, it has nothing to do with me being under the weather. I don't enjoy doing it anymore. I've had a blast all these years, and it's not fun anymore. And when it's not fun, it's time to walk away. And I said, you sure you want to walk away now? I said, maybe just do the home games. He said, no, I'm done. I don't want to do any more baseball. I'm done. I could sit here now, watch every single game on TV. He said, watch every game I want to watch. He said, that's what I'm looking forward to. I've given, he said to me, Michael, I'm going to be 86 on July 4th. You can't do this forever. So it was kind of sad for me. And, when I told Jody, I was kind of emotional too. But, he's iconic. He called 5 world championships for the Yankees. He had the longest run of any Yankee broadcaster ever. It's longer than Mel Allen. It's longer than Phil Rizzuto. That's how long he's been doing this. So,
but it is great to hear that it's just the time for him. I was worried, for us on the outside looking in, He misses games. Then you see a press conference. You start to get worried he's in some sort of immediate danger. So nice to hear that he's okay. He's just kind of done with it.
There's just a uniqueness to Sterling because, growing up a Met fan, Bob Murphy was the Mets voice from 62 to 2003. But what, Michael, for the last 20 years, there were many series he wouldn't do, wouldn't travel a lot towards the end of his career. We're starting to see with Howie Rose, who's been a voice of the Mets for a long time. He's not going to be traveling that much this year. Of course, the iconic voice of Vin Scully, Michael, for a long time towards the end of his career, he did not travel east of the Mississippi. Up until last year, he did every inning of every game. Yep. I mean, that's the uniqueness of him. So there'll be other announcers that broadcasted longer than John or older than John, but nobody was able to say that from 1989 until 2003, when he finally stepped away, I guess it was 2003 or 2002 when he stepped away and first missed his first game, that he had done every inning for how long, and then every game for how long, right? Well, so I guess after you left and Steiner
for Michael, 3 years, and then Susan for 20.
Right. But for 20 years, he never missed an inning. And then for his entire career, he never missed a game. So that's what's just so iconic about him. So you'll find announcers that are been around longer or have done more games, but nobody could say they did every game for as long as he did. And for the last 20 years, every inning. And he is the voice of generations of Yankee fans. And he is certainly going to be missed. And great guy, too. Fun guy to talk to. Did talk shows here. Did talk shows at the Fan. Did hockey. Did basketball. Michael, he was doing Ivy League football when Yes first started. I mean, he was just a machine. And I'm glad he got to go on his own terms.
I will talk more about this when we get back. A lot of people on hold about other things, but, if you want to talk about John, you certainly can. And John's fine. As far as I know, he is under the weather. He's not feeling great, but it doesn't seem to be anything of any serious nature. Fingers crossed. And he's just decided that, he's tired and he wants to stop broadcasting right now. That's the Pinstripe Report brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, is never ordinary at Bet365. Don, I think you got some things to tell us.
Well, maybe.
Well, if you just joined us, kind of stunning news. But as Peter mentioned, the way it's being done, it's not upsetting. John Sterling has broadcasted his final game as a longtime broadcaster of the New York Yankees. So 36 years with the Yankees as their broadcaster, and a career. Don mentioned this earlier. He was doing sports talk radio before FAN ever existed. He did the Islanders. And, his call, Islander goal. He also called I forget the other hockey league, Don, but he did
the Long Island Ducks.
No, not the Long Island Ducks.
Oh, the WHA
you're
talking about? Oh, yeah.
And he did it with those games with Fritz Peterson, who just passed away last week, the Yankee pitcher who was, loved hockey. He did the Nets with Dr. J and Larry Keenan and that team. Then he went to Atlanta and did the Braves. And then he came back and he did the Yankees. Mm-hmm. So he did the Yankees for 3 years. The first 2 years with Jay Johnstone. Then he did a year with Joe Angel. Joe Angel left. And then I got the job. And I worked with him for 10 years. And then there were 3 years with Charlie Steiner, and then now 20 years with Susan. So that all adds up to 36. And he's an entertainer. He's got one of the great voices I've ever heard in broadcasting, and he still sounds terrific today. And I'll just recount the phone call that I had with him on Saturday. I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "Not that great." He sounded a little hoarse. Because I knew he had not been feeling well. That's why he missed the last series at the stadium. And then they went to Cleveland, so he wasn't scheduled to make that trip anyway. And he said, "But I'm okay." I said, "So what's up?" He had left me a voicemail. And he said, "I just want to tell you that I've done my last Yankee game." I said, "John, what happened?" He says, I'm just tired. I'm done. I don't like going to the ballpark anymore. I'm just done. And I said, I'm shocked. I said, well, why don't you wait until you feel better? I said, and then make this. He said, no, it has nothing to do with me feeling under the weather now. It's just, I think it's time. I'm going to be 86 on July 4th, and this can't go on forever. And now I could sit back and watch the game on TV and live my life the way I want, and I have to be at the ballpark when I have to be at the ballpark. And I just think it's time. And I got to give credit to Chris Oliveira. He's the general manager of WFAN. And I've told this to Chris personally. He has been so great with John since he took over as the guy running WFAN. He has acceded to his every wish. He has made sure that it was comfortable for John. When John wanted to cut back on road travel, Chris made it happen. As far as I was told, Chris, up until this thing became official, was trying to talk him out of it. And he understood that legends should be treated in a certain way. And whether you like John's broadcasting style or not, he certainly is a legend. Called 5 world championships with the Yankees, and he's going to be remembered forever from Yankee fans. And Yankees are going to honor him with an on-field ceremony on Saturday. So it's kind of stunning because there are people that when John started broadcasting the Yankees, they were 10 years old. They're 46 now. I mean, that's all they've known.
Yep.
That's all they've known. 2 generations of Yankee fans. That's really all they've known calling Yankee games. So I'm kind of sad because he still sounded terrific. If you listen to a tape of his last game, he sounded great. He just sounded great. But he just said, I'm done. I'm tired. I want to rest, and it's just too much for me. So we have to respect his wishes and say goodbye and give him a big collective hug.
It must be really passionate about it too, Michael, because I guess it would be very simple with them returning home this weekend.
Right.
For him to just say, all right, this is my last series, give some closure to the fans, have a chance to say goodbye outside of a press conference or a guest spot on the fan during that series. So maybe he'd be just too emotional to know that these were the last games, or maybe he just could not give another game. It is a lot. It's every day. It's getting to the ballpark, preparing to do the game, and maybe he just absolutely had it. But selfishly, even though I'm not a Yankee fan, but I'm a fan of his, I'm a fan of radio, and a fan of play-by-play first and foremost, that I'd love to be able to get some closure and have him do at least one more game, just to be able to know as you're listening to it, it'd be the last chance.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, we've heard his last game, and we didn't know it was his last game.
Now, his highlights will live forever, Michael. I mean, some of those moments are iconic, so his voice is going to live forever in Yankee fan land and in baseball land for sure. But just to have that moment, because that's the difference between baseball and every other sport, is that in hockey and basketball, they're kind of necessary evils in football, too, because there's not as many games, and you can get in front of the television. But radio, and I'm one of these people too, Michael, where I enjoy it more on radio than sometimes sitting and watching it on television. There's nothing better than on a beautiful summer day, sit outside and barbecue, pop the radio on, and listen to the game. And that's why his voice resonates so well, because even a diehard fan probably listens to 60, 70 games a year on the radio in their car, in the backyard, and that's the voice that they heard every summer for 30-plus years, every game, every inning, every big moment. So that's why baseball announcers, especially on the radio, are so iconic, because they're such a part of the fabric and the soundtrack of a sports fan's life.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. And, I mean, what a responsibility for Justin Shackle and Emmanuel Barberi, who are doing a good job doing the games on the road now. I don't know what FAN's plan is, but I would assume they'll split the games the rest of the way. But you're taking over for a guy that was part of everybody's landscape. Because as Don said, baseball's a radio sport. Because the radio goes with you to the beach, and you could be at the pool, and I mean it's just built. Because it's such a long season, and wherever you go, if you're taking rides in the car, John Sterling was always with you, and now he's decided to step away. Really weird.
I wonder also if there's a slight bonus for him in that You'd rather not go through this is my last time doing this. This is my last time doing that. Like if there's a part that's emotionally easier to just go, it already happened. It's done. You know what I mean?
You know what, Peter? That I guess it would be very emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
For him to, forget about like this is the last time. Just to know that this is the last time.
That's what I mean.
And rather than put himself through that emotion, all right, it's been done. I'm done.
Exactly. Rather than so the last time he did a game, there was no pomp and circumstance.
Right.
It wasn't some special version of it. He did it the way it always was, and that was it. I respect the hell out of it.
And you know that if he announced this weekend was going to be his last weekend, it'd be a circus. And maybe that's something he just didn't want to have to go through with all the interviews and.
Well, he's going to do that anyway Saturday.
But he'll have that moment. But he's also, this is a guy that wants to be able to do the game. Right, and he wants to put the game first and not have it be about him, and that's what it would kind of become. And maybe that's just attention he didn't want. And listen, you know him better than anybody, Michael. What would you think the reason behind it would be?
You know what? I don't quite know. I don't know why he won't do one more game. Just to give people closure. Forget about him. People want to hear that one final game. They experienced that one final game, and they didn't know it was a one final game.
Do we know his last home run call? Somebody was asking on social media.
Was that the day that Soto had the call, hit a home run?
So his last game was, because he hasn't worked he didn't take this road trip, obviously, to Cleveland.
Right.
So the last...
he didn't do the 3 games before this, he didn't do at home. So that one, all the games blend together.
Yeah, especially in baseball. It's every day.
Yeah,
it's easy enough to look up.
He did. I think the last game was a Sunday. I think the last game was a Sunday.
Well, we
yeah,
can
because
find that out easy enough.
The Stanton Grand Slam he had. The Blue Jays, I believe. That was the last.
So we can take a look and see the last home run in that.
While we're looking, let's take some phone calls. Let's go to Les in Rockland County. Les. Hello, Les.
Hey, Michael. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I just want to kind of echo everything that you said. I'm 42 years old. So my entire life, right, has been John Sterling. It's, on the radio, in the car, growing up, or, sitting by the pool, just everywhere we went, right? It was on, and he was the voice. And I was listening last week, and he sounded perfect. Like, it amazed me how he was 86 years old, the travel, the city to city, and still kind of kept up with it, and honestly didn't miss a beat. And whether you liked his style or not, the guy was on it every game, and showed up and was amazing. So he's definitely a legend. And, to speak to, I got 4 kids now, right? They love getting in the car and listening to Yankee games, and he is their voice right now. So it's a sad day, but, we should certainly celebrate everything that he has given to the Yankees because it's tremendous.
Yeah, that Stanton home run was the last home run of that 8-3 win against the Blue Jays, so not bad for his last home run to be
a Stantonian blast.
A grand slam.
Yeah, he... over the years that I worked with him, we had, very funny exchanges because he really, really wanted the Yankees to win. Because when I joined him, that was 92. So that was the last losing season they've had. And, he would live and die with every loss. And I was coming from a newspaper background where, you have to be totally objective. And I just asked him, I said, John, why do you care if they win? I mean, they don't care if you have a good broadcast. And he said, Michael, my boy, he goes, if you give people good news, they're going to like you. He goes, and you give people bad news, they'll blame the announcer. He goes, as great as Marv Albert was, he was at the mic in 69 and 73. And he is part of forever because they won when he was there. And John knew. And, he loved being part of 96 and 98, because the first 3 years he did. Think about it. I mean, I was a writer then, and he would tell me, "Go, what did I do? I left the Braves and the Hawks. And I mean, this is the Stump Merrill years. They were just dreadful." And he was so down, and he was questioning why he made the move. And obviously, Starting in '93, they haven't had a losing season since. And he also took a lot of pride in the voice, because the voice is spectacular. It's spectacular. And, you know, if you listen to some older announcers, you can see that they sound older. Even politicians that are old. If you listen to Bill Clinton, he doesn't sound the same way he did when he was president, you know, because your vocal cords age. John's didn't. John's amazing. His vocal cords didn't age. He sounds like he's 25 years old. It's really something else. Let's go to Danny in Long Island. Danny.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. A couple of things I wish to discuss, but let me touch on John. I was one of those 10-year-old Islander New York Net fans back in the day. I was listening to John on my AM/FM radio as I went to bed. Some horrible Islander overtime losses in the playoffs, some great Dr. J championships, and then when I went on the police department, I learned to love the radio. And to this day, when people I work with have these little phones and stuff to try to watch a game on a little screen that's blurry, I said, you know what? Give me the radio. I can enjoy it. The art form that it is. Paint me the picture rather than me staring at some little screen trying to, freezes up. It goes in and out. I love listening to games on the radio, and Sterling was as good as anybody because he didn't take it overly serious. In the middle of the seventh inning, he starts talking about a meal. And it's great because you have so much downtime in baseball. It's theater. It's theater of the mind. You have to fill his spots, and he filled it, and he will be missed, and I wish him a healthy and long retirement. And I just hope it isn't for health concerns, because the New York Post right now, as we know, love the Post, is saying it's because of health concerns. Front page of the online Post, so we just hope that that's not true. Wouldn't be the first time the Post blew a headline.
No, never.
But a couple of things, Don. By the way, Peter, the thing about filling your gas tank was because the thought process was when it got down low, sediment and dirt would go into the engine that wouldn't necessarily have it. I don't know about Don's father filling the tank every day, but between that and crushing the pizza boxes, it's amazing the man never got any work done.
That's a great point.
He didn't like it under a half a tank. So what are you going to do?
Listen, Donnie, about the hockey. I mean, is it me or as an Islander fan? I come out of that game. First of all, I was listening on the ESPN app because I was in my garden all day planting my veggies. And Maloney was more high on the Islanders during the game than he was the Rangers, saying this is a team that's playing playoff hockey, not the Rangers. They're winning every battle in front of the net, behind the net. And they're giving the Rangers everything they could handle and more. And they're going into the playoffs with a full head of steam. The Rangers I'm not saying they lucked out. It was a great game. And like I said last week, give me Islander Rangers once a week for 6 months. I'm good. And now they're probably not going to play in the playoffs, but I came out of that game with the 1 point. I mean, we needed it, but the manner in which they played, I was thrilled with this team headed to the playoffs.
Well,
now let's go win the game tonight.
They're built for the postseason, the way that they play and their goaltending. Now, will they be able to score in a big spot? That's always going to be the question. But just like with the Knicks when they beat the Celtics the other day, Michael, whatever sport you follow, I always take the end of the season with a grain of salt, because not everybody's like the Knicks. And the Rangers want to win the President's Trophy, and they want home ice advantage and all the things that come with it. But you're never going to be able to match the intensity of a team that needs the game to make the playoffs. So the last 2 times the Rangers played the Islanders were absolutely desperate, and that was a big difference. Now, can they beat the Rangers in the best 7 series? Of course they can, because that's hockey. But I still like the Rangers' chances, and I wouldn't completely get crazy in what's happened most recently with the Rangers, taking on all these desperate teams. Philadelphia, when they played New Jersey a couple of weeks ago, they were still alive. The Islanders, Pittsburgh. That's a tough kind of comparison. A team trying to get to the second season going up against a team that already knows they're in. They already know they're going to have home ice in the first couple of rounds, and they're playing for the President's Trophy or to win the division. It's a different type of intensity. Once the playoffs start, everybody's on even keel as far as the need is concerned.
Let's go to Artie in Fairlawn. Artie.
Hey, Michael, Don, Peter, how are you guys?
What's up?
I was calling about the Knicks earlier, but you know what? John Sterling is God. I mean, I listen to the radio game all the time. Half the time I got the radio on when you're not on TV, Michael. Mm-hmm. My mother's got the radio and the TV on because it's ahead of the game. And so she's very down right now.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are, Artie. He's been a part of people's lives for 36 years calling Yankee games. And if you go back further with the Islanders and the Nets, and he's been around a long time. It's an amazing broadcasting career, as he said in the statement. He's been doing it 62 years.
I hope. Listen, I don't want to talk him into anything he doesn't want to do, we can't say we're surprised by this announcement because he's going to be 86 years old, all right? So the day was going to come sooner than later. I just think people thought they'd know the last game.
Right.
And I just wonder, when he sees the outpouring of emotion from the fans, whether given the opportunity to just do one last game, whether he would take that opportunity.
You know what bothers me? I just looked at what Danny said. The front page of the Post Online, he's retiring for health concerns. And as far as I know, I spoke to him on Saturday. That's not the case. I said, why don't you wait until you feel better? Because he's under the weather. He's not, like, profoundly ill. When people are 85, they get a bug. It stays with them a while. But as far as I could tell, what he told me, it's just time. He's tired, and he doesn't want to do the games. He doesn't want to go to the ballpark. He says, once I'm in the seat and doing the games, I love it. He said, but just to get there and to get back, I just don't want to do it. So that's kind of not right. That headline's not right. It's not because of health concerns.
I know. That's the thing. It's a slight word difference. But when you use health concerns, the obvious implication, Michael, is that there's a deeper concern.
Right.
Not just the real headline. Right. John Sterling is tired. He's older, and he realized he started the season and realized he just doesn't have it in him. And that's not nearly as sexy a headline as health concerns.
Yeah.
So people go for the health concerns one, and that stinks because that's not what the situation is.
And it's easy to believe because he's not going to do another game.
Right.
It's not like, at the end of the season or at the end of this month or at the end of this homestand. It's immediate, so that fuels the speculation even more.
One of the things that, when Flip put together the Yes Network, getting John to do the Yankeeography, was there a better voice to do that? Just think about it, how perfect a fit that was. And he still, to this day, he still does them. And also the Yankee Classics. It's just... it fits. It just fits that he's calling, Yankeeography and doing all the classics and stuff like that. It was a perfect fit for him. So, there's a lot of things he's going to be missed about, but not going anywhere. He's just not doing the games. So that's what we have to think.
Now, you obviously were the perfect choice, Michael, but did Flip ever consider using John on Yes for play-by-play? Or was it a contract thing?
I don't. Well, we were both under contract to the radio, so I don't quite know. I'm not quite sure. I think what Flip has told me, he definitely wanted to go with a younger person. I was 40 at the time, and because it was a new network. But I don't know if John was ever considered or not. But that was a difficult phone call for me to make, to tell John that that I was leaving to do the TV, because I've told the story a million times that if I was John Sterling's quote unquote sidekick for 40 years, I would have been very happy. I would have considered that a very successful career. And then the television thing opened up, and John was hurt. John felt like I left him. And I said, no, it's just an unbelievable opportunity. I didn't leave you. This is something that I want to try to see if I can do. Not because I'm unhappy with you. I was very happy with him. And I love doing the games with him. And I'll always think back fondly on those days. Those are some of the best, professional days of my life.
It's got to make you feel good, Michael, because I'm seeing it now of people wondering, could they get you and John one more time? And you guys haven't called a game together in over 20 years, and yet still that team resonates with fans.
I would love to.
All the great games that you called and championships that you won.
Well, there could absolutely be a world, I would think, where John hangs out, rests some this summer, and then an opportunity comes up for him to join you on Yes and do a game. That could be in the cards.
I would love. I'm sure that Yes would be up for it as well. I can't speak for them, but you always used to be a block about, especially when we were at war with each other, the radio stations, that, why don't I go in the booth and do one more game with him, when Susan was off. But it could never happen because, I didn't work for FAN, and ESPN wouldn't want me to do it, although I think ESPN would have had less of a problem with me doing it. But we did do that one spring training game during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did that. But that was weird. We were both in separate places, and we weren't together. It'd be great to do a game together.
Yeah.
But I just think that that's cool that 20 years has passed, and yet people still would want to.
Well, you know what? It goes back to what John said. When you give people good news, they like you. We gave them 4 world championship teams that we were broadcasting for, and they think back fondly on that. So those are great. Those 10 years were unbelievable. So many great games, so many great moments. And again, 5 World Series, one of them. The last game I ever did with him was 2001 Game 7. Even that was great. And it was an awful ending for Yankee fans, but it was a great game. And I didn't know when I did that game that was going to be the last game we ever did, because I didn't think I was getting the yes job. I didn't even think it was a possibility. All right, we'll take some more phone calls when we get back with over 350 new and certified pre-owned. Well, we're talking about John Sterling. He announced today, the Yankees announced that John has done his last game. We spoke on Saturday. He said he's just tired and, doesn't like the trip to the ballpark and the trip back. He loves doing the games, still loves sitting there doing the games, but it's just too much to have to be somewhere. He said, I'm going to be 86 on July 4th. And, a lot of people look at John as like, a homer broadcaster. And what I would ask them all to do is pull up a tape of the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th inning, Game 7 in 2001, and listen to the way he called Luis Gonzalez's hit that won the World Series for the Diamondbacks. You would think that he was a national broadcaster. And when it's that moment in a game, John Sterling could give you as good a call as anybody who's ever lived. With his voice, with his inflection, with the rhythm of the way he calls a game, he's an amazing broadcaster. So, yeah, did he want the Yankees to win? Of course he wanted the Yankees to win. And I told you I felt like that. But if the other team did something great in a big moment, he was just as excited because it was a big moment.
Also, listen, was he a little shticky with the whole Yankees win, and all that? Yes. And if you want to call that being a homer. But, Michael, I listened to enough Yankee baseball where he would sometimes hammer the team for not being able to get the runner to third with less than 2 outs,
yes,
or get a sacrifice like Susan. They're killing themselves here. How many runners have they left on base? Like, he could be as pointed and biting against the Yankees and critical of the Yankees. Now, when they won the game, he'd be over the top. But you're right, he still gave his all for every RBI or a home run or a great moment for the other team within reason. But he would be very critical of the team, Michael, very critical.
Let's go to PK in Montclair. PK.
Hey, Michael and team.
What's up?
How you guys doing?
What's up?
I originally had a Volpe point, but I just heard about this news with John Sterling, and I did want to comment on that. I mean, between Sterling and yourself, Michael, you guys were the soundtrack of my baseball, development.
Well, that's always a wonderful compliment to hear. And like I told Derek Jeter once, thank you for letting me piggyback on your greatness. Mm-hmm. So I mean, announcers become, I guess I shouldn't use the word famous because we're not famous, but they become more well-known and well-liked when you have great moments to call. And with the Yankees over these, 35 years, it's been great moment after great moment. So we just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
It's so cool here in New York. I've complimented how we don't have any weak links. All the teams here in New York have great play-by-play announcers, but we've been very fortunate to have guys spend forever. Sam Rosen's been the Ranger TV guy since '84. Even Bob Papa, Michael, he took over 92, 93, so he's been the Giant announcer for 30 years. Bob's been the Jet announcer for over 20 years.
Green's been the Nick announcer. He started the same year as me, so 33.
Yeah, going back to his radio days. Yep. Carino took over for Papa. He has to be doing it for over 20 years, Michael. Yep. So we've been very, very fortunate the announcers that we've had, and when you hang around for that long, you're gonna make an impression on the fan base for sure.
Let's go to Richard in Manhattan.
Michael, Don, Peter. Before I get to John, let me just say a word about Ken Holtzman.
Mm-hmm.
Holtzman was on the 76 Yankee team. He was a great Baltimore Oriole pitcher. Pitched in the 69 World Series. Ironically, Jerry Grody died last week, and now Holtzman. Both played in the 69 World Series. Holtzman, though, Billy Martin hated him, wouldn't let him pitch. He pitched Guidry, Rudy May, Figueroa, Doc Ellis, but he wouldn't pitch Holtzman. And Holtzman famously said, "It's okay, I'm sitting in the bullpen, I'm still getting my money," because he had a big contract. But he was a very good pitcher for Baltimore, and he was I'll always remember him as being on my favorite Yankee team, that 76 team that came out of nowhere. Them more than the 94 team and the 2017 team. Those were the three Yankee teams that nobody expected anything, but a 76 team, of course, went to the World Series. Okay, as far as John goes, I started calling John John Sterling is like Lou Gehrig. He replaced the guy on WMCA AM named Jack Spector, and it was supposed to be a summer replacement thing. Spector was but they had sports call-ins in the 60s. I think Stan Lomax, and there were a couple other guys on WOR.
Bill Mazer.
Bill Mazer, right? Amazing. But that was more Stump Mazer. He asked him a question. But there was another guy, I forgot his name. Not Lomax, but another guy, I forgot his name. Anyway, so John replaced Jack Spector, who went on to do country music when it was in its infancy. Country music, I forget on which station. Anyway, but John was about 35, 36, and 72. He was tough on young kids. I was 16, 17 years old. I'd call up, and he would rip you if he didn't like what you said. Oh, that's a childish thing to say. Or, how sophomoric are you? And he was rough. He didn't suffer fools gladly, that's for sure. But like I always said, him and Susan on the radio, and I'd be reading my New York Post with a coffee and a bagel. Forget about it. That was the best thing you can do in New York. His voice was great, and he certainly wasn't pro-Yankee. He'd get angry at Boone for taking pitches out. He would say, "Oh, of course they're going to take the pitcher out. He got 3 in a row and threw 7 pitches. Why shouldn't they take him out?" He was funny.
Well, you know what it was too, Richard. He wanted the Yankees to win, but he was not reluctant to criticize them. So when I think of a homer, it's when they're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken, whatever. Never did that. If they were playing poorly or they didn't move a runner over, he destroyed them. He was happy when they won. So if you call that, I'd like to know what broadcaster's not happy when the team they're broadcasting. You know who we left out too? Ian Eagle's going to 30 years with the Nets.
That's crazy.
And Howie Rose. Did we say Howie?
Yeah, well, Howie was doing Mets Extra back in the late 80s, and then he was at MSG for a while. So he's been doing Mets play-by-play for over 30 years. He's been with the Mets, Michael, for 40, going back to Mets Extra days. Literally every team. But there's been an announcer with them for a very, very long time. It's and even guys that were, like I said, Bob Murphy did it from 62 to retired at the end of the 03 season. Like forever, these guys. Kenny's been doing radio for the Rangers since '95, so he's going on 30 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I was talking to John. I said, "John, you got to be sure. You can't get these jobs back." He said, "No, I'm sure. I'm good. I'm good." So he kept saying he was good. So you know why people keep it so long? They're great jobs.
Yeah,
and you don't want to give it up. I mean, what saddened me, certainly not trying to make this about me, is that there is an end. You think this is going to go on forever? You think John's going to be the Yankee announcer forever. You don't think that age catches up with people, and at some point, even Vince Scully retired. He did it when he was 96, but it's sad. There's a certain number that you reach, you go, wow, I'm way closer to the end than I was to the beginning. So it's sobering. But that's the way life is, too.
But it's very sad, and it's also the best kind of sadness that you can hope for.
How so?
Because if your whole life goes perfectly, you get to retire from your dream job at 86.
Yeah.
That's called as good as it could possibly go. Now, listen, as good as you possibly goes, your parents die peacefully in their 90s. That doesn't make it not sad when it happens. But it's sort of the best kind of sad you can hope for.
I'm also told that Carino and Capshaw are full-time when Yes started, so they just finished their 22nd season. And do you know that Capshaw the other day announced his 1900th consecutive game? Could that be?
I was
1900?
shocked by that. Yeah, 19.
Yeah.
I saw the same tweet.
Yeah.
1900 consecutive
Never missed a
games dating
game.
back to 02. He's great. Those guys are great. You talk about, Mona Lisa in a garage, just because the Nets have, really this year not very good. And Ian, when you look at the TV and the radio for the Nets, a team that doesn't have a championship, and it's now been 20 years since they were competing for one, to have announcers like that, tremendous. Carino is so good.
He's really good. He's really, and he gets.
I worked with him at Sports Phone back in the
Really,
day.
he gets to do games on Yes as well. When Ian and Ryan are not doing the game, they have Carino do it. So, yeah, he's tremendous.
And just to throw out too, Michael, and I text him after. I want to give a shout out to Pat O'Keefe because he got thrown into a situation. Believe me, he loved it. that he got the opportunity. Unfortunately, under the tough circumstances with Ed Cohen's situation, and he ended up doing every game down the stretch and some amazing games. He had a great game yesterday, getting a chance to do the playoffs. So good job out of Pat O'Keefe too, taking advantage of an opportunity and killing it.
You know what I was thinking about too, Don? If the Knicks and the Rangers win a championship, you're going to get 2 rings. You did games for both of them.
I don't think I'll get one.
Am I right, Peter? Am I right?
He should.
I don't believe I'll get one.
Why not?
Well, that would be a shame. You deserve 2. You've been a part of both.
I did 7 Knick games.
How many Ranger?
20. And then
7's almost 10% of the season.
Yeah, no. Ranger, you got to get.
And also the pre and post.
That's what I'm saying. That's the whole season.
Hey, the hardest thing about getting into shape is taking... All true. If you just got out of work, John Sterling and the Yankees have announced that John has done his last game. They're going to have a ceremony for him on Saturday, a Saturday afternoon's game at the stadium. So kind of an end of an era. 36 years behind the mic for the Yankees. Pretty amazing. That's a longer stretch than Mel. I was thinking about Phil. I said it's a long stretch.
Yeah.
Phil was 57. He started in 57. And I think his last year was 1996. So Phil might still be the longest tenured.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
And, you talk about the other things that he did, Michael, and we didn't hear it in New York, but if you ever see, like on MLB or some kind of classic, the July 4th Braves-Mets game, when Rick Camp hit the home run, they went 19 innings, Sterling's on the call for the Braves. Yep. And again, New York didn't get it, but if you ever see a replay of that game, they always play the Braves feed, and it's Sterling from 1985.
Yeah, he's kind of like Zelig. He's been around a long time.
He really has.
Let's go to John in Mount Vernon. John.
Hey, John.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you, John?
I'm good. I got a couple of stories and one personal story, but I know when John came over from Atlanta, it used to drive me crazy because the Yankees weren't very good at that time, and he would constantly say, when I was with the Braves, and he used to drive me nuts. But he won me over. I'll never forget. I was on White Plains Road and Gun Hill Road, and Bernie Williams hit a home run at something. It was a Sunday, and that was the first time I heard him say, "Burn, baby, burn." And
John, that was the first time he did that. That I was with him that day. That was the first time he started doing that. Burn, baby, burn was the first one.
Yeah, well, and that's what I remember. And so he won me over with that. And by the way, I went to high school with Kenny Singleton. We used to take the same bus.
Oh, really?
And I coached James Rowson for 1 year. And if you ever get him on, ask him about his father. His father was a tremendous New York Giant football fan, as you can think. Anyway, and my personal note about John is I have a tremendous friend. I'm a big Yankee fan. This guy was bigger than me. Season ticket holder, went to many games with him. He passed away this week. And just his name is also John. It just seems sort of, of course, John Sterling, thank God, has not passed away, but it just seems sort of full circle the way life works that John has stepped down 5 days after my friend John stepped down. So,
well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss, John. Yeah, that's all. I was with John in Seattle. John was like a confirmed bachelor, and he met this girl, Jennifer.
Okay.
And I remember
I
I came down early in the morning. I don't know why I was up early in the morning. And John slept in past noon every day. And he was scurrying across the hallway, the lobby of the hotel in Seattle with 24 roses. I said, well, John, what are you doing? I met the girl I'm going to marry, Michael. I said, what? He go, oh, yes, this is the one. And he ended up marrying her, and they had 4 children. I mean, they've since split up, but they still remain very, very close. And I went to their wedding. It was amazing.
Wait, when are we talking about?
Oh, goodbye to yes. They're going to the pregame.
Wake up, Flip.
When did